like, geez, I can take a 6-month vacation from this and still have enough tokens to do everything I want to do. For schedule a weekly family meeting, and so we do that at Cherry Gulch. We have our family meetings, and by that we mean the whole school or the bunkhouse and the lodge, and they would write down what they want to talk about at the next family meeting at least an hour before it starts. So that makes it so there's no surprises for anybody. They see exactly what's coming, and it's just a good way of doing it. It reduces that anxiety, and sometimes it might be things like, I'd really like it if we got cable, or man, could we go out and see this cool new movie that's coming out? Or, I was thinking about it this summer for vacation. I was hoping that we could go to the Bahamas, or I've really been wanting to see Grandma who lives in Mississippi, and whatever it may be, you guys can talk about it. Or it may be something like, little brother got into my drawers and broke one of my things, and I didn't like that. Or it might be that, Johnny, you've been really getting kind of disrespectful to your mom and I, and we just want you to know that that's not okay, and we maybe should have been giving you cards for that, and we're going to be giving you cards for that. So there's your kind of fair warning. So it could be anything. It doesn't have to be all intense stuff. It could be just kind of fun stuff. All right. Then why in family? Youth residential treatment if needed, and or other creative forms of teeth. So at Cherry Gulch, and we'll get into kind of these strikes and stuff here in a minute. But at Cherry Gulch, at first I tried this, and of course, since we are youth, residential treatment and therapeutic boarding school, they're like, that's the consequences, is we have to go to Cherry Gulch. Well, we're already here. It's like it just didn't work, right? So I had kids who figured out that if they got in enough trouble, they could get kicked out, and so when I specify, it's like, look, that's a strike. And they knew exactly what they needed to do. I had some of them do it 3 times right in a row. They think that some of them get in such a negative space, they think that jail or that anywhere in the world would be better than being at Cherry Gulch. So it just didn't work very well for us to use that. But for you, that's really important. That's the teeth. That's the leverage. And they will believe you now, or at least I hope they will, because many of you have followed through with therapy, and then wilderness therapy programs, and then on to Cherry Gulch. So now you've shown them that you're not a liar, that you mean it, that you're going to follow through with this, and that you're serious about this. And and the other kids should know that too, because they know that this one's off here at Cherry Gulch, and when he gets back, that if he gets himself in too much trouble, he'll be going off to some sort of residential program. If you don't have the finances for something like Cherry Gulch, then you think of some other creative things, like one family had the consequence was going to live with Aunt Edna in Nome, Alaska for 2 years, or maybe another one might be you've got to go live with Uncle Sergeant Major who lives out in the desert somewhere for next school year. Or for others, if you can figure out something that's going to be equally as powerful, like you're not going to be able to play sports or date this year, then you could try something like that. But a qualified, licensed therapeutic program of some type, youth residential treatment, would be what's recommended. And you typically wouldn't need it, because they're not going to push you that hard. And if they do push you that hard, you do need it, and it's time to get it done. So rules without teeth aren't worth the paper they're written on. So that's why we have the teeth. So now, again, we don't use this at Cherry Gulch, because I have some kids that they want to do anything they can to get out of here. So, but at home you have strikes. So we have strike 1, strike 2, and strike 3, you're out. So after 3 strikes, you end up in youth residential treatment. And those strikes aren't easy things to get. It's not like, that's the last thing we want too, is for them to be back in residential treatment. We want them to go home and be successful, but sometimes you need some teeth to help your rules and things have some more strength behind them and meaning behind them. So so sending your children to long-term residential treatment does not mean that you or your family rules has failed. This is an option within the structure of family rules to effectively deal with out-of-control children. All right. Okay, so there's a difference between a strike and a bad hair day. So that's something that Dr. Jones wants to make sure that you realize. And I'm going to give you the difference between a strike and a bad hair day. So a bad hair day might be, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, I had a real attitude, I was kind of pissy, I got in lots of trouble, I pulled a lot of cards, or maybe I even temporarily refused to pull the cards and I stormed out of the house and I was maxed out, and then I come back, later and I apologize, I take responsibility, I take my cards. That's just a bad hair day. You're not going to get, a strike for that. A strike would be more like, F you, I'm not doing anything you tell me, and, you can't make me do it, and I'm never going to do it. I'm not going to listen to you until pigs fly and hell freezes over. And then that's true, they don't. So maybe that goes on with that kind of bad attitude, that day, and then into the next day, and maybe even the next day, and that's a strike. Or we'll get into, I'll tell you, okay, now we're getting to what I was just going to mention, or there's a pop fly. Now, we do sometimes use pop flies here at Cherry Gold, or strikes kind of mentally of, geez, this kid's not doing good. Like, for example, here it may be a pop fly if a student punches a staff member in the face and shoves a kid, and that's really aggressive. That's clearly over the line. There's only so much that we can handle. He may need to go to a higher level of care, and we may kind of put the wheels in motion to get that to happen. So a pop fly for you might be different than a pop fly for your neighbor or for me. So for one family, a pop fly might be, catching their kid using pot or, smoking marijuana or something, where for another one it might be, the kid stole some sneakers from the store, are you kidding me? Or for another, like it might be that the kid took a baseball bat to the new 60-inch LED like TV screen and smashed the TV and smashed the DVD player and smashed the window and busted a hole in the wall, caused a lot of damage. That's a pop fly. I mean, in most families that would be a pop fly. Or he takes the family car and goes out on a drinking party and drinks and drives and smashes the car into a telephone pole. That's probably a pop fly. He punches his mom. That may be a pop fly. So you've got to come up with that in your head of what a pop fly is and where you're going to draw the line and what the next step is. What are we going to do then? So are we going to, if he does a pop fly, are we going to call a transport company, have him go back to Wilderness for a while while we decide what we're going to do, or are we going to have him go to this residential treatment center that our educational consultants already kind of thought might be a good option for us if this is what happens? So that's basically what a pop fly is. A pop fly is a really big deal. So sometimes there was I think I don't remember this story actually, but Sherry, I think, was a girl who was really, really stubborn, and she was refusing to participate in the family rules system, and she was maxed out on cards, and it stayed that way. The parents took away her phone and took the door off of her room and took away all the games, and she was still just being a pill and stubborn. that was just, she was kind of maxed out and basically living on as though she kind of had a strike, basically. She hadn't done anything so bad that it was automatically a pop fly. But eventually, Sherry learned that, man, I don't get to do all this stuff. Her parents were being really consistent. And then the kind of senior prom rolls around, and a boy asks her out to the prom. And Mom, they're like, "Are you kidding me, Sherry? You haven't been following our authority. You're like, most of the time you're maxed out on your cards, and yeah, no, you're definitely not going to that prom until you get down to 0 cards and your attitude improves and you're doing your homework and the things that we've told you that are part of our rules." And so that was what did it for Sherry. Sherry wanted to go out with this boy to the senior prom, and she worked down to 0, and then she wanted to keep seeing him, and her attitude was better. She had done what she was supposed to be doing. So I probably got that a little messed up, but anyways, I wanted to tell you more about these strikes if they're not popping up here. Okay, so here it's just kind of reviewing everything, the family rules. Fashion a list of rules for the family. Add the healthy habit cards, mix in responsibility via household chores. Institute a list of rewards. Love and encourage your children daily. Youth residential treatment if needed. Okay, so I'm going to go back to something here. So I want to talk about these strikes. In the book, it'll give you a bit more detail on it. So the first time you get a strike, you have to pull all 50 cards, plus you're grounded for a week. If you're on, you can still go to church or synagogue if your family does that and you want your son to go. He can still do all the chores and things he would typically do. He can still do his homework and go to school, but he's not going to be participating. He's not going to watch TV. He's not going to use the phone. Maybe he can't have any of the nice snacks you have at the house. He can't ride his bicycle or play on his computer or use his guitar or anything. He can only do those things we had talked about. He can work office cards. He can take a nap, lay in his bed, read assigned reading, or do some sort of chores that you've expected him to do. So, and that's it. If he has, say, a job or he's on the basketball team, even if he's the star of the basketball team and they have a big tournament coming up, he doesn't get to go. He's grounded for a week plus working off all of his cards. Now, if he gets strike 2, he's the same thing. He's grounded for 2 weeks. If he can't go to his job and he gets fired, that's just the way it goes. If he doesn't go to his practices and he gets kicked off the team, that's the natural consequence, right? That's just the way it goes. So that's what those strikes are. And then, of course, the third one, and he's out of there. So don't forget the cockroaches. So what this is basically saying is if you've got, you live in some place where there's cockroaches and you flip on the light in the middle of the night, or you take out a high-beam flashlight in the kitchen in the middle of the night, you see these little boogers squirming, scurrying all over the place. They're trying to get out of the light. So when we shine the light on something, they're going to want to get out of there. So that means several things. One is that sometimes if we kind of put this program in place, all of a sudden this highlights the fact that, geez, we needed this, we needed that structure, we needed these rules, we needed these consequences, and my kid's acting out worse now because we've got this stuff in place. That doesn't mean that it doesn't work. We just need to stick with it. Or maybe and some of you have realized this with, maybe you have a son that comes to Cherry Gulch, and then all of a sudden, the other kids start acting out. Maybe your daughter starts being more of a pill and things, because your son's gone and the focus is more on her, and maybe you've got the family rules and she doesn't like it, and